represented here, and Mangaung seems like is the usual behavior of the institution. I'm not sure if any representative from Mangaung is here, but it appears like we have the same honorable members, the same behavior that we would always observe with Mangaung every time we call them to these engagements. So we'll discuss that and take decisions about the conduct of that institution, but welcome to this meeting. And the agenda is distributed in our working WhatsApp group and the emails. So at this stage, I want to welcome everyone and make a note that this is a joint committee meeting between the economic development portfolio and infrastructure, which is chaired by Chairperson David Van Vuren. He's sitting there next to Dr. Jackelson. And then another notice information is that Honorable Pretorius is sitting our last meeting with us as the Economic Development Committee. And then we are welcoming the new member on our committee, which is the Chairperson of Infrastructure, which is that Honorable Van Vuren. Welcome to the committee. And Honorable Pretorius, we wish you well to other responsibilities, but we know you are still with us in the legislature, but you are still welcome. We'll continue to work together. And can we then confirm the agenda, honorable members? Honorable Klute?
Chairperson, I'll move for the adoption.
There's a mover of the agenda, Honorable Klute. Can we then get a seconder?
Seconded.
Seconded by Honorable Mkabela and thirdly handed by Dr. Jackelson, Honorable Dr. Jackelson. So what we are having in terms of 4.1 as the matters of discussion, honorable members, that we have a recent, or the purpose of this meeting is to deal with the entities that are listed on the agenda as far as the issues that is concerned that around the economy of the Free State, but necessitated by the recent disruptions and protests that blocked some of the economic activities in the Free State. And it was our understanding as the economic development that this meeting, we're not going to call it in isolation alone as the Economic Development Committee, but jointly with the Infrastructure Committee, because we understand that the matter that we're dealing with, it affects both committees, and it's both economical and it's both departmental as far as the department's accounts to the infrastructure. So we have called this meeting primarily because we anticipate and we see that we have to be briefed as the legislature on these issues, where we are able to intervene and process issues. We do so in the interest of the people of the Free State and the people of Mangaung, because any disruptions that happen that disrupt the economic activities of the province, they become an area of concern as a portfolio committee. And that itself is going to be a serious pressure, because as where we are sitting in terms of the allocation of the budget of the Free State, the province is 600 million short from the equitable share. And it means that it relies mostly now on those that must come and invest in the province so that our economic activities, all the pockets of the economy, they grow in our province. So we are at a very fragile stage, and any small disruptions that we might encounter, it was going to make those pockets of economic stimulation to suffer. So it is in the interest of the people, in the interest of the economy, in the interest of the department, the legislature, and everyone that we have a functional state of on the economic nodes and undisrupted. In this instance, we're focused particularly on the mode of transport that involves the taxi associations. So those who, because we're in the legislature, that is the purpose we have gone to get those briefings on what necessarily causes these disruptions that threatens the fragile economy of the Free State, and then we must emerge out of this meeting with resolutions on how to resolve those issues so that we protect those areas that are supposed to carry our people into the different formal and informal trades so that our economy grows. So those who are going to speak, they will have to take an oath on affirmation, and I want to give to the legal advisor or legal representative to take them through, and then we'll get the presentation from the department, and then we'll have the taxi association. We're supposed to have Mangaung, is not here, and then we'll have the registrar, the office of the registrar. I think is one thing with the department, and the board chairperson on the issues that are raised. Then we'll give the honorable members on those issues. Then we must emerge with decisive and direct decisions that takes us forward, so that we do not experience what we've experienced in Mangaung. So let's get that. All those who are going to participate in the meeting and give responses to take an oath on affirmations. We'll start with the department. MEC?
No, thank you, Chair. We are here and we complied with the advice that we must extend invitation to the leadership of the taxi industry, which we did. They are here with us. The provincial leadership of the Santaco. From our side, I don't know what is the thinking of the committee, how exactly you are going to deal with their participation in the meeting and the issues that you specifically want them to address. But let me just say that the issues of the regulation and formalization of the taxi industry started a long time ago in the country, as a result of which there are legal prescripts through which we interact with the entirety of the industry. There's a way in which we relate with them. As a department, you would know that throughout the Free State now, what we have is town-based associations that are affiliated to Santaco and other formations in the industry as a whole. So we operate within a specific legal framework. Informally, I was sharing with some members that we do have problems, some spontaneous here and there, some of which are really located outside the legal framework that is established by government of the country. That would include the recent protest that happened in Botshabelo. The issues really there, which are mass foreground, is that we have had a general meeting of the association in Botshabelo that elected leadership. Soon thereafter, the same group visited us in the office. We hosted them. We listened to their complaints, which in the main, I think the fundamental issue was the contestation of the outcome of the elections of the leadership of the association. But still, we continued to listen to them. Now, when the protest took place, there were a lot of other issues that were connected therewith, some of which are really outside the purview of the department. One of which is that the vehicles are getting damaged because the roads are not very good in Botshabelo. Now, I do not do local roads as a department. We do really based on SLAs that we establish here and there with municipalities, assist where we can. But in terms of intergovernmental relations, it is really not our purview and our responsibility to deal with local roads. So they raised a lot of things, including the issue around illegal immigrants. There's just a cocktail of issues they raised. The mayor took an initiative with some councillors to listen to them. We have also been requested by the mayor that we assist in looking into roads that they, together with the councillors, have identified as critical roads that taxis are using in Botshabelo. And they said if we bring in our machines, something that members were always asking in the past, we can build them. But we can assist and build them. So I just wanted to flag those issues, but otherwise, we will go into detail in the presentation that will talk to some of the issues that the chairperson spoke about, that when there is no, or when there are disruptions of public transport, then that impact also on the economy of the country. So we'll attempt to the best of our ability to talk to all the issues. I think the invitation was clear that we must give an exposition with regard to the permits. So we'll outline the whole process and have a discussion. I think we'll leave it entirely in your hands, Chair, in how you will determine the participation of the leadership of the industry. But otherwise, we conformed to the request that we must extend invitation to them, and so they are here. DDG will indicate who is going to present so that we then can deal with other formalities. Thank you.
Thank you, MEC. Puselezo.
Thank you, Chairperson. DDG, good afternoon.
Afternoon, ma'am.
May you please stand for me? Will you be taking an oath or an affirmation?
I'll take an oath.
And do you consider this oath binding on your conscience?
I do.
Please state your full names for the record.
Mujalefa Patrick Muluti.
Do you swear what you're about to tell the committee is the truth and nothing but the truth? If so, please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Thank you, Ntate Muluti. May I please be guided as to who will be assisting you?
The Registrar, Mr. Ntamo, and also Mr. Nchingane, the Deputy.
Thank you. Afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
May you please stand for me? Thank you. Will you be taking an oath or an affirmation?
An oath, yeah.
Please speak into the mic.
I will be taking an oath.
And do you consider this oath binding on your conscience?
Yes, I do.
Please state your full names for the record.
My surname is Intamo, and then my other name is Monnapule Henry.
Do you swear what you're about to tell the committees the truth and nothing but the truth? If so, please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
So will you be taking an oath or an affirmation?
An oath.
And do you consider this oath binding on your conscience?
I do.
Please state your full names for the record.
The name is Mlungisi Vincent Nchingane.
Do you swear what you're about to tell the committees the truth and nothing but the truth? If so, please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Thank you, sir. Department chair. Okay. Must I proceed? Okay.
The chairperson.
Okay, I don't. Okay. Okay, Chairperson,
Yeah, can the leadership of the taxi industry, you'll just get and you'll just indicate so that you also take an oath or an affirmation. You'll just assist Mepuselezo, Chairperson.
Good morning,
Good,
everyone.
good day, sir. Will you be taking an oath or an affirmation?
An oath?
And do you consider this oath binding on your conscience?
Yes.
Please state your full names for the record.
It's Daniel Sanguela Masilo.
Do you swear what you're about to tell the committee is the truth and nothing but the truth? If so, please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Thank you, sir. Will it just be you or? Okay. Let me then proceed. Good afternoon, sir. Please assist.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Honorable members.
Good afternoon, sir. Will you be taking an oath or an affirmation?
An oath,
And do you consider this oath binding on your conscience?
I do.
Please state your full names for the record.
Sechaba Andris Sibope.
Do you swear what you're about to tell the committee is the truth and nothing but the truth? If so, please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Thank you, sir. Afternoon, sir. Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Will you be taking an oath or an affirmation?
I will also be taking an oath.
And do you consider this oath binding on your conscience?
Yes, ma'am.
Please state your full names for the record.
Joel Tsukudu Matlatsa.
Do you swear what you're about to tell the committee is the truth and nothing but the truth? If so, please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
Help me God.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Mangaung, honorable members, note that it is not here. This is always the attitude and conduct that we receive from the institution. It was yesterday in Petitions Committee and it's today again. We'll have to attend to this institution, and I must state that upon preparing for this particular meeting, we did engage with Dr. Honorable Jackerson and reminded me that sometime the committee did meet and then there were some issues that were decided and recommended, but he's going to assist us as well because MEC, when you lead this department, is a continuation. So there might have been some issues that were resolved by that time that Honorable Jackson was part of that meeting, and then perhaps you are still faced with them today, but it's also going to be the source for us for this to assist us to get our memory into line with the resolutions of that particular engagements and the resolution of the 10 when he was participating in these meetings on this particular the same subject. So without wasting time, we'll give the department to take us through, and then after the department, we'll then get if the taxi association they have prepared their own presentation or not, or the person that will present will also take us through. Then we're going to give honorable members to engage. Thank you, MEC.
Thank you very much, Chair, and once more greetings to everybody. As I stated, my name is Pule Henry, my surname is Intamo. Currently holding a position of the Public Transport Registrar Free State in the Department of Community Safety, Road and Transport. We have tried to give a presentation. I think we did make some copies. I am not sure whether everybody has, but we have also tried to check whether if the copies were not enough, that probably you can use the screen as well. I'm not sure that is possible. But Chair, can I proceed if everybody has some form of copies? I'm not sure because we have a substantial number of pages, so we may have to request that we must not just go line by line, probably because you have copies at least the presentation is there as well. There's a report of the Registrar of the Public Transport, which encompasses the work that has been done, inclusive of both the PRE and what we namely call the board. But it's going to be important first, just before we proceed, that I make the following that we must take note of. We must understand that we are transitioning from what we call the Free State Public Transport Act of 2005. And we are now at Section 23 of the National Land Transport Act of 2009, which directs us to form what we call the provincial regulatory entity. So that the abbreviation of the PRE, so that when we say PRE or PRE, understand that the full abbreviation is termed to be the provincial regulatory entity. So amongst the 9 provinces, I think we are a little bit behind as Free State in terms of ensuring that we begin to internalize the terminology of the PRE. So you will then understand when we begin to, in our presentation, omit the word that is calling the board. The industry throughout the country is now resonate with the name, the PRE, throughout. And then the National Land Transport Act was then amended in 2024, and then and was then regulated in 2025. Suggested that because we may actually, we have looked into the issue, the PRE being the issues that are more legal, to begin to deal with our capacity that we then borrowed to have other people that are coming from outside the department externally, which the advert was set to appoint additional people that who has capacity in the form of either being advocates or people who have economics on them. Because in the nature of the issues that we are dealing with, they do overlap into the legal, the legal issues as well. So I just wanted to do that before we deal with this, so that we give the context of the presentation properly. So on the page 1, which is now the register and the PRE mandate, we have stated not all of them, but we said the primary one is 1 to 5 to 4. We received those applications for screening, obviously. We verified the applications. We placed the complaint application, the compliant application before the PRE adjudication committee, and then maintain decision records for audit, enforcement, and planning. So those are, amongst other things, the most critical issues that the committee or the PRE has to look at once we deal with the applications of public transport. The other thing that probably, so we don't lose each other somewhere in the road, and we may not really be using too much of the taxi, what we are going to talk about the public transport, basically, because it goes across the buses, the taxis, the shuttles, the e-hailings. So we'll be using public transport as a terminology to encompass all of those public transport services modes, so that I don't get lost too much on that issue. And then on page 2, which is page 3 in terms of our current, you say the current licensing environment. The taxi sector is the largest daily public transport mode in the province, with applications covering new licenses the renewals of those licenses once they get to be expiring. Amendments, if there's the amendments in terms of either the route wants to be added into the existing permit. Transfer may be actually a person who probably decided to relinquish the industry and they want to give that permit to another person, or it's an application that deals with a deceased. If probably the permit holder is passed on and the wife or the husband wants to take it over, those are the transfers that we are referring to there. And then we have what you call a temporary authorities, because sometimes when there's a delay on our side, whatever cause may the delay be, we are bound to give some form of documentation to that individual to can be operating whilst we are dealing with the problem internally, pending on the merits of the problem. So, and then on page 5, the main pressure points reported by the industry to the PRE is the issue that relates to the permit versus license confusion. Sometimes it happens that the old permit is still cropping up. Remember, we are from a period where we have what you call OMBEPAL or OP permits, which were more radius in nature. And they were not recorded anyway. You will never find a record of such anywhere. But then from there, we were then introduced to what you call be legal. And then in 2005, then we were route-based, which is now what we are referring to today as an operating license. So those are the issues. Then those old documents, they are still cropping up. There are people still goes up and say, my father, my grandfather, my whoever. That's what we are referring to when we deal with that. The expired authority, so sometimes we find that the permit has expired in 2014 and somebody's permit. So before we begin to deal with that, it's a legal issue. However, we are doing all this issue of expired authority, being cognizant of the fact that the Act does provide that 180 days has to kick in there. But that is part of the nature of the problem that we are constantly dealing with at the PRE level. Incomplete applications. Remember, the application has to be signed by its owner or by the permit, or by the applicant himself, not by a second person. So you'll find that the application needs a criminal record to be attached, or the application says you may not be able to be working for government, therefore attach declaration as a government official before we keep. So those are the issues that deals with the incomplete issues of application. Issue new operating licenses to new areas. Basically, I mean, you'll remember, I was just listening to say that Honorable Jankelson will be giving us some a memory house. If it is the case, we'll remember that we had what we call a moratorium type of some sort in the process. But the reality on the ground is that our areas are growing up. The reality is that permits has to be issued, but at the same time, we found that the municipalities, some municipalities, if not all of them, apart from the area where we are, which is Mangaung, they don't even have ITPs, let alone the integrated ones. So those are the challenges that we begin to face with, because we're supposed to be working closely with municipalities in identification of the routes, and also even issuing of permits, so that before we issue, we must touch base with our local municipalities to be able to be in agreement with them when we are dealing with that issue. The administrative bottlenecks on page 6, Chair. The frequent missing documents. I think we are from the history as a PRE where we admitted initially that our house was a little bit not in order in terms of documents of people getting missed. Because remember, we're dealing with a lot of paperwork, and we're not really dealing with these issues on the digital manner. So there were some few documents and other documents that get missed. So that as well created some bottlenecks in terms of us working out the permits earlier or issue those permits. And amongst other of those is that you find that the certified ID and proof of ownership issues becomes very serious. Valid licenses, disc, roadworthiness, because once you delay to issue that permit, it depends whether the person submit an application whilst the disc or the roadworthiness certificate is about to end. So the time when we attend to it, we'll find that that has expired. However, we have now submitted ourselves to say we need to agree that even before we issue, let's adjudicate, but before you issue, let's get the valid certificate to issue so that we don't delay it further in terms of adjudication. So that is how we do it. The other issue is that it's a driver information system that we have to establish, because part of the drivers, we find that some of them, they may not, especially on the foreign drivers, the clarity in terms of that, but those are some of the issues that we continually deal with the industry. The other issue now is your systems and record challenges. The national, the NLT, which is a new system that we need to introduce to deal with the downtime historical records, duplicate certificate information, unclear route descriptions are part of what we always deal with as a problem area. The paper files needing scanning. So. So those are some of the issues that we have identified, and I'm just putting into those. We may not say they are all of them as such, but we are saying those are the main issues that on a daily basis we have to deal with them to resolve the operators' problems. Progress already made on these issues. The office in the strengthening the full license life cycle, application intake, verification, the PRE consideration, issuing, records management, and enforcement support. So we have now dealt with that. Those are some of those issues that I've just flagged as issues that are problematic issues. We are clearly beginning to clear off all that backlog about the document that are still being lost. That issue has been addressed basically. If it's there, it's still minimal, but from our side, I think we've dealt with it precisely. We have now established a PRE committee, which is for adjudication, clearly. The issuance issue, and the issuance, I want the committee to understand it. There's two ways. We are issuing permits in the way that the other permits may be the new application, which after applying, you must wait for us, the adjudication, so we don't give you anything to operate with, obviously. But the other issuance is around the existing permit, which you can play around either by when it's about to end, you need to renew it, because it's the same permit, it's not a new permit. Or you may find that the permit has to be transferred, so that is now on the issuance. So those issuance refer to those type of, so each have its own type of category. If somebody has passed on, the primary document that determines for the transfer of a disease document, permit, it's a must that you must submit a letter of authority. That's the basic one. The other document, like your SARS document, can be done, but that one becomes the main one. But if it's a one-on-one transfer, the two transfer and a transferee must be in the one room to be able to deal with those issues. Update application forms across transport modes to cater for e-hailing services. Like I said, we are the last province now to really usher ourselves into this issue of the PRE. But the e-hailing is a new permit service. It's a new service within the field. That was just also part of the amendment of the 2009 National Land Transport Act. So it just came to effect now. The only thing that is happening with the Free State, we have not yet, as Free State, received any of those applications. But we know now that the app holders have been, I think, have been approved by National, but we have not received any applications. So as Free State, we are technically exonerated in terms of problems in that field. However, those that have already been approved, we have agreed that we can begin to, they can come forward so that we can orientate them on how are we going to be working with them. The other issues in our application form has now changed to PRE, so anything that you are going to be receiving from that section is PRE based now. So what we are busy, amongst other things that we are doing now, we are trying to clean up our data. We are trying to verify the routes. We are strengthening our compliance in terms of, on compliance strengthening, once you give us an incomplete application, we shall reject it because it actually exhausting us, because once you bring it incomplete, we have to take time before it gets adjudicated. People still have to additional information. The other thing is on support enforcement. To provide a reliable list and verification tools to the inspectors. Inspectors in this instance will then become a law enforcement, or what we call a transport law enforcement officer, so that, because remember, we are producing permits, but at the end of the day, the people that must enforce it are those law enforcement officers outside. So that collaboration is very key, and we are consistently managing it. And then I will want us to skip page 9. It's self-readable to page that follows that one, which is page 10. Association operating licensing summary report. So we have tried to give the stats in there so that we are understanding. Now, on the 74, I think I must explain the 74 properly. 74, in terms of our operation, is divided into two. In this sense, we have a taxi type, which is called rank-to-rank approach, which you know as a minibus taxi operators, either locally with 4+1s or minibus taxi type that takes people from one province to another area. So those are the taxi types. It's where they are using our taxi ranks. And then we have another category of our service, which is now a scholar transport. Those that are ferrying kids to school, that where we begin to speak of that Section 72 within the National Land Transport Act. Those are the, so these ones are now they are in the form of associations. So they have executive committees, they have membership that affiliates to them in those services. They are not one thing, they are basically separate to each other. So on later stage now, ourselves with the motherboard, which is Santago, we are now at this point where we are even trying to incorporate these other ones of the scholar transport, because initially they were not part of the mainstream, which is a taxi type mainstream. So we are trying so that the coordination becomes easier. So the other figures, I think they speak to themselves, but I think it's important also to say the registered members on the 19,000. The 19,000 must be read in the following manner. It must be read for you to understand that in our data system, we have 19,134 permits. But we have also tried to make it easy for you to understand that the active members, that means if you go outside and ask us what is on your road today in terms of transportation in permits, you shall then receive the 6,751 practically. So, and then remember the total licenses, the way you must read it is that Mtamo as an operator may be having 2 or 4 permits, not one. So in this one, we're introducing you to say the permits themselves. There are 14,008. So members themselves, there are 600. So the PTY LTD is that people can come and register as companies, not as a person. So that person, that company, we personify the company as a member on the street. That's the number of companies that basically in the form of a trust or LTY, PTD, and whatever. So they can still do that. So that is the number that we are trying to give in there. But we also gone extra just to begin to break it in terms of the female who are owning the taxis against the males that are owning the taxis. Just that what we did not do probably we're supposed to have done, which is a little bit very stiff, is an issue that we can assist you in terms of the youth vis-a-vis the elderly people, because the number of operators are aging already now. So maybe this is only what we missed. We can make that information available if it's requested, so that you understand the breakdown in terms of the age as well, which I did not do. It's just come to my mind as I was presenting here. But what is in your right-hand side there, which we are going to be dealing with into another page, but I think I might just pass quickly through it, is that those 5 associations, those are the names of association. GBTA means the Greater Bloemfontein Taxi Association. If you go to Wood, there's a Velcom United Taxi Association. If you go to Qaut, there's a Qwaqwa United Taxi Association. If you go to Twasta, there's a Tshwaraganang Taxi Association based here in Bloemfontein for Scholar. It's a Scholar one for learners. And then Bata is a Botshabelo Taxi Association. Those that we have grouped them is that when we look into the membership of the Taxi Association in terms of permits and membership, those are the biggest within the province of the Free State, if you ask us in terms of numbers. So we've just tried to isolate so that we understand and have some form of, and so, and then there are certain priorities that we wanted to just introduce the committee on without reading what is easy to be read by yourselves, is that there's a conflict resolution issue that time to time, apart from issuing the permits as a PRE, we also deal with issues of conflicts amongst our own individual members or taxi to taxi, because remember, rank to us means another association from Free State must have a working relationship with another association in Gauteng for offloading and loading. If any conflict rises in from there, we need to come in and resolve that. But in some instances, members themselves or the same association may be incoherent, so we need to come in as well to prevent escalation of those. So that's what we refer. Or sometimes somebody comes and says permit has been lost, or somebody has not been assisted. So those are continuous issues that we are dealing with every day, every time, so that we are able to attend to that. The other issue that probably is the backlog issue that I've tried to speak about, and maybe without going to number 2 under that same page, is that we will all remember, if probably, which I think Santiago will be able to speak to that, the leadership of the Provincial Taxi Council will speak to that, is that the Free State, the west part of the Free State was at a time when, as Free State, we were unable to issue permits, and we're issuing what you call ad hoc type of system, and that has basically disadvantaged our operators to tap into what you call the COVID fund. Once we have unlocked and begin to issue the 7-year permit, and then the majority of the operators did receive their money even after the extension of the COVID fund. But we want to declare that not everybody has received that, because it's either the time when we're beginning to correct the system, other people, either they have passed on or the permit was not properly transferred. So, but it's not very rough, but I think it's proper to really alert the committee on such under that key issues of backlogs, the thing that is created technically on that issue. And then we are saying there we are working with 2 councils in the province of the Free State. It's Santiago is a South African National Taxi Council and the South African National Small Bus Council. So those are the 2 councils. The other one is a Small Bus Taxi Council. The other one is Santiago. So we have those type of 2 formations within the province of the Free State in terms of, and our relationship with them is very ongoing, basically. And then we also have what you call a contracted or subsidized services. I think I'm not going to speak much on that, but remember our role is confined in us receiving a contract and us issuing a permit based on what the contract condition says. So we have that type of service, and then in terms of the Free State context, I think the contracted services are divided as well into two. The first category is the one that this government is directly subsidizing, which is insisted probably the IBL in Bloemfontein, in Mangaung as a municipality, and the other one is in Bloemfontein as Maluti Pass Service. Then the other category, number two, is where the mines have contracted buses on. Like if you go to Lejolipuzo, you find that there's Mega Bus, there's GT3 and others. Those are contracted type of service. So in the Free State, we have those two categories of contracted services throughout. Let alone the issue that relates to your staff type of permits, where a particular shop contract an individual to take his staff in and out. Those are contracted type of services as well. So, and time to time, our challenge on that, why we make it a priority is because time to time we do fight around the way they travel out of their scope of operation. Sometimes if you can go and mount an operation, you'll find a taxi that has only a staff permit is beginning now to encroach into the mainstream operation. Those remains our challenges. The other issue is on our turnaround time, which I think has improved, I hope. But I think that is a judgment that must be done by the industry generally, so that we don't. But the ideal turnaround time must be a 3 months cycle period, which I think we have not completely reached it. We are still moving forward towards that direction. And I'm on another page on the provincial service category profiles. Now, I'm not going to go through it, but that's what I was trying to explain on another slide when I was saying we have those categories of services. We have a minibus taxi type, which I was trying to say is your rank to rank. The charter services, which tells you that you can only load from the point of departure on your area of issuance, which if you get a charter holder from Bloemfontein, you can only load from Bloemfontein to any part of South Africa. Education transport, which we refer to as scholar transport, learner transport, those are the type of transporters. And even there, you'll find that there's a category that the education department do give some contract to people to ferry their own kids, especially the farm areas. But we also have those that are now in the associations that is voluntary for parents to look for transport for their kids, but they're all falling under education transport. The bus services, and then we have staff services, the meter taxi type, and the unscheduled services. Now, I'm just on the other page, Chair, if you allow me. Regional location by service category. We have Mangaung, Lejolipuzo, Bloemfontein, Fezile, those are 5 districts of the region. And what we did, we just gave you the numbers according to each category to say in Mangaung, minibus, the charter, education, those are the numbers as you go, and was the total on that. And then the town location, the highest localized license pressure, we have now tried to isolate that as well. If you check in the right-hand side, we have said concentrated town hotspots. Bloemfontein still remains to be our hotspot in our side. Welcome and Putadichaba, Sasolburg and Virginia, they remain to be our hot sites. But we also acknowledge that some areas in the Karib district remains the same. Because the ruralness of the district is very challenging, the economical factors of the district is very challenging. But the main challenging of Karib is the bordering of the Karib region with the Northern Cape region. And once we are unable to control the border movement of the Northern Cape and the Free State, I think that's where we have a lot of problems, and that remains your hotspot as well. And then on the minibus taxi type, we have actually dealt with that issue at that time when I was dealing with another slide. But the point that I want to bring into attention of the committee is that the district details, they are as we have stated there, that Lejoliputswa, Mangaung, Lejoliputswa, Tabamfutsanyana, Fesle Dabi, as 5 regions. We have tried to work the states also there. And then we are now at the charter services. Those are the states for the charter services as well. Unless, Chair, I can go through them, but I think unless there's a clarity that is needed on that chapter. Those are education, transport. We can also check that as we break them out, what is that we have per region, and the bus services. On the bus, like I said, it's very complex because remember the buses, the bus is that you have a right to have a bus service, but also you may have a contracted bus services, or you also, the municipality of Leyte, which is Mangaung municipality, has a 10 buses that are they are using as subsidized buses as well. So we've taken all those buses in one to say these are buses that are traveling in your roads throughout the Free State, basically, so that we don't miss up that point. And then the staff permit, the staff services. Staff, like I said initially, we have now divided for you the staff themselves to say people that are fearing people from is contracted by either ShopRite or whatever company on an individual basis. Those are the numbers, because as when we issue staff permits, we record them. But remember, staff permits are also linked into, it's not a 7-year permit. It's a permit that is linked on the duration of that contract that we're giving in that shop. If we're given 4 months, we shall issue a 4 months operating license. If we're given 5 years, we are going to issue this 5 years. And then after that, we just do what we call monitoring of that service. And then on meter taxi, in the Free State, we have only one meter taxi association that is now called, that is in the Free State, and there's already a move to break them into regions, because we have seen the constraint that that association has to be able to spread throughout the province. But that decision has been taken by the same collective to say, let's spread this thing, let's put it on regional levels. But currently, this is what we have, and it's mainly concentrated in Bloemfontein. There are few in Paris, there are few there, but the main concentration of the meter taxi is in Bloemfontein. And I'm deliberately saying Bloemfontein is an area, not Mangaung. Bloemfontein, not Botshabelo, or not Tabanchu, but Bloemfontein. So there may be 1 or 2 in Tabanchu, but the whole concentration is here. And then I think it's where, when this issue was erupting about, the issue that was erupting about Maxima or Bolt and the meter taxis fight into the malls. That was the reason why it was happening here, because the meter taxi as approved was here. So the rest of others were illegally operating, and that was a space that they were fighting against amongst each other. So, Chair, I think we want to say, basically, this is our presentation as written, but before I close up the presentation, I think I just want to get back to the issue that the Chair has quickly, in his opening remarks, has remarked on it, and my MEC has also spoken about it, is that, like we said, the conflict erupts every time, and as when we begin to look into the nature of certain conflicts, there's a conflict that you can resolve, but we prefer to deal with conflict within the framework of a legally established association in that area, because all operators are members of that association. So anybody who works out of that association becomes a serious issue for us every time. But we have also noted that the current activity that was in Botshabelo was beginning to say we are taxi, but then we are incorporating other issues, but it was outside the leadership of the association. So we were in that area, we have resolved those issues. However, we are going back to the area again on the 9th MEC, just to be physically on the side to say everybody who are saying to all of us, he doesn't have a permit. We will take our machines, our laptops, our staff as a PRE, station them for that day on the 9th in Botshabelo, so that we are able to identify who are these people that are saying they are not getting the say or they are not being serviced in Botshabelo. So that action has been actioned already for the 9th. Actually, we actioned it for the last Tuesday that we are coming from. They then ask us, the same people, they ask us that it's a busy day, can we postpone it to another day? So we agreed that let's go to the 9th. But all operators who've deemed to be saying they have problems with permit issuance or they have never, will all be there to start listening to say who are these people and how so that we resolve the matters on site. And it's not the first activity, Chair, that we have done. We went to Qwaqwa, do the same. We went to other areas, do the same. So we have thought when we heard that there was a part of the demand that the permits are not being issued, we said, I think we need to go there with all our printers, our computers and everybody to go and work in Botshabelo so that those people must actually we must be in the proximity of those people, and they must not have a mental person called an association so that they can have an access to the officials of the board. Chair, I think that's the presentation, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Registrar, and we take note of the presentation. Then I want to give to the Chairperson of the Taxi Association, if you have presentation or you have something to say before we are going to give honorable members. Chairperson.
Thank you, Chairperson. All we want to concur with the Registrar to say all the presentation that which was given here, it's 100%. We are fully behind it. We normally engage one another. And then, for instance, the incident that happened in Botshabelo, we don't know who are those people. We take note of some element maybe of people who are disgruntled or unemployed, then to take the opportunity of maybe causing some disruption to loot. But as a taxi industry, we've got structures from association level up to the regional level, up to the provincial level. Normally where we've got issues like permits which are unresolved, there is normally a system that we use even to ask or to make a follow-up with those operating license. Normally the committees in the associations, they will make an appointment with the office of the Registrar to check how far the processes of the licensing or operating licenses, how far are they. In the past, we happened to have some deadlocks, failure of printing machines, and then the system would go down. Sometimes it would be not man-made problems, it would be electricity. And then at times we'll be informed timeously to say, don't come to Bloemfontein, don't submit papers because this is the challenge that we are having. So we are being kept now and then on the know. We wouldn't say there are much differences between ourselves with the Register because the processes are there, the land transportation is there, our constitution is there, each member knows what to do. So our doors as well as the department is always open, so we are happy until thus far. Where problems do arise, we engage extensively. I wouldn't say it's always normal, but it's smaller issues. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable members, these are the presentation from the department and the remarks from the Taxi Association. I'm now going to give you, and you are not restrained to also ask other issues that we dealt with at the Lengau testing stations, because the MEC is here. And that time the MEC could not join us. We are not restrained, but you are also allowed to take all those issues. So let's give you honorable members. I'll take Dr. Chairperson, and then I take Honorable Pretorius, then Honorable Chief Whip, then Honorable Mukabela, and then Chairperson. I'm going to give you, me and you will come after the honorable members. Yes. Thank you, Honorable Dr. Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I'll be very brief. My first question is around backlogs. I see there was a mention of backlogs, but there are no figures there. There are no numbers to say in each of those things, categories, what are the backlogs specifically. And then, Chair, I presume that within the department there are no conflicts of interest. So there's not a trust somewhere like CB Trust or something there's a conflict of interest, because that was problematic in the past. I think officials were also involved in the industry, were also trying to police the industry. Chair, and then just to the association, my question is, how do you maintain discipline? Is there a code of conduct within your constitution which applies to your various members, the operators on the ground? And perhaps they can just expand on that. And then, Chair, you opened the door now for the testing stations, and it is a huge issue for us in the Free State. We get complaints. It's a very frustrating thing for the members of the public who go to a licensing center or a testing station, and they get told there's no ink, or there's a problem with the printer, or there's a snake in the building a while back and now the building's been evacuated, or the water is off and no one can work, or electricity, things like that. And it's very frustrating because people have to take off from work, sometimes take leave to go and stand in those queues, and they get to the front and then they get told, sorry, we can't help. And I know in Bethlehem, one of the security guards there said he was actually, this was about a year or two ago, assaulted by someone because the person was so angry, and when he wanted to intervene, there was a fight between them because the people get so frustrated around those issues. So our plea is that these are it's a small thing, or it seems small, but on the ground, the whole station is disrupted because of a small thing like that. There's not the necessary paper or the cartridges and things like, simple things like that. We can't have disruptions because of those issues. And then we have to try and escalate it. We have to try and diffuse it. We get the frustrating calls from members of the public, and it's often such a petty thing, but the offices just close because of them. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Pretorius.
Thank you very much for the presentation by the PRE and the association. Chair, mine is not really that much related to the permits and licensing. It's more in terms of infrastructure. If I could just get an indication, perhaps, especially from the Taxi Association, the infrastructure they are using across the province, let's speak about taxi ranks basically, at municipal level. What are the challenges being faced there? To what extent is the department involved on a provincial level? Because it's one thing to transport people, but it's also one thing where people actually wait for transport. What are the challenges? And then specifically, perhaps, I'm not sure who I should ask this to, or it can be answered. In Tromsburg, we have that transport hub that was built there next to the Albert and Zula hospitals that was never utilized. Is the indication, I think quite similarly here in Mangaung, we have the big taxi rank as well. But in general, what is being done in terms of the infrastructure where people are picked up and dropped off? And then in terms of the impact that Lengau's testing center that is not operational, how does that impact the taxi association? Because I do understand then the vehicles have to be tested privately. Is there a massive difference in price between the private institutions and the public institution? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Pretorius. Honorable Chief Whip.
Mine starts with the taxi industry. I just wanted to understand, are they in control of the taxi industry? If yes, how possible is it that you can have a situation where they can be shut down and taxis be stopped from operating? And they say they don't have complaints. They are still happy with the manner in which things have been done. Now, who are those people who blocked people from boarding taxis to work and transport coming to a standstill? And who is, I think it's Masiteng from Busabla, who was always on radio for the 2 days, Masitela, yes, Masitela, giving updates. And one of the issues that he was raising was that they've embarked on that because the testing station in Busabla has been closed for 7 years or 15 years. Now they have to come to Bloemfontein to get their cars tested. He raised a whole number of issues that are not coming up today. Now, that's why my question is, if we have taxi industry leadership in this meeting, are they in control of the taxi industry? So that we can have an understanding. If you have a situation of dual power, we must understand, so that the government can also not sit with an understanding that they are discussing with taxi leadership, but when taxi leadership on the ground is not having control, it's other people, so that they can know that then they must go, and if they have to resolve issues, go and discuss with those people, because the ones that they say are leaders of taxi industry are not in control of the industry. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chief Whip. Honorable Mukabela.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Let me just welcome the opening remarks by the MEC and also the presentation from the department. I've got few clarity-seeking questions here, Honorable Chairperson. The first one will be that of the two associations that are recognized by the department, being Santaco and SansBob. Now, the question is this SansBob for taxis, no, for minibus and meter taxis included in that? Because we all know what Santaco is all about. I just need a clarity-seeking question on that. And then when Tate Munnapule, through you, Chairperson, when he was doing his presentation, he spoke of the one association which is recognized by government that deals with meter taxis. Now, I just want to know whether do they have within that association of meter taxis a number of meter taxis that are involved in that association? That's question number one. Question number two, how often as the department do they keep in touch with the meter taxis association? That will come to my next question, why I'm asking this question. You know, as politicians, we do get a number of meter taxis owners and drivers who knock at our doors. And some of them would be complaining that they don't have protection from the government and they also don't get benefits. I will make an example of meter taxis that you would normally get there at the station, at the railway station. There's no infrastructure there. and they've been operating for decades. And some of commuters know where to find them. Either you make a call to say, come and pick me at the certain destination, but commuters of Bloemfontein, of Mangaung in general, they know that you go to the station and you get a meter taxi. Now, how glued up is the department with those meter taxis? And are they falling under certain taxi association? Or are they just operating on their own? Or are they a forum? Are they recognized? These are the questions. I know it's so many questions, but these were the questions that normally come to our offices as politicians. And sometimes we don't have answers for them, but only to say we will just, when the opportunities arise, we will try to pose them to the relevant departments for assistance. Thank you, Chairperson. And lastly, I just want to know, who is Ndade Masitela? Is he part of Santaco or leadership? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Mkabela. Chair? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson, and let me also welcome the presentations. Chair, my first question will be to the Registrar. What does it cost to register a taxi? Or, I mean, is it a person? Is it per taxi? And what is that cost involved? Or is it just a formality, an administrative process that we have to go through? Do we get any financial benefit from that? Then, Chair, the Registrar said that they normally, when they've got a complaint, they will go to a specific area, take their printers and go and sit there. So there's no formal process to monitor and regulate this. It's just on complaints. Then you will go to a specific area and see that it's not done, or is there a process to make sure throughout the province there's legal taxis on the road? Chair, or do we actually only depend on the taxi association to monitor themselves and ensure that there's legal people on the road? Chair, and then the roadworthy, every when does a taxi have to be licensed or go through a roadworthy process? Because I think it's more often than a normal car. There's a specific when. And are they all done? And how do we monitor that? Because now we depend on, or is it part of the process to make sure that these vehicles, that maybe the department, are roadworthy and they've done it? Do they get a separate disc for that? And what's the cost? Because this roadworthy centre that we know in Bloemfontein has been closed for years. It has opened for a fraction of a day, and then everything broke again, and now it's back to I don't know who's going to register and monitor that. Then, Chair, lastly, I've personally went to Lengao Monday and to fetch a license, and I can tell you the reception there was so rude. Everybody sits there, and I understand why, because every second day that place is closed. So the people there don't want to work. They hope that tomorrow morning again there will be no water so that they can sit at home, receive their salaries. So they were so rude. But I mean, if we're not there, if the department is never there, maybe go through there, send a person in there to monitor there. We will never know it. And I can promise you now, it's not just here. It's all the testing stations. What are we going to do about that? Because it's just now we'll manage it, and promises made to us as committees, but nothing happens on the ground eventually. But it's the people that goes in there. Look, I don't think a person that wants to go and get his license is the most grateful person, because it's difficult to get a license. The whole process is cumbersome. You get blocked everywhere. I've seen the systems. I've been there. I saw that the systems are working. The lines, there's queues and a lot of people. But I can promise you no friendly faces. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I think one of the things that we must just that the municipality is not here, perhaps to get an understanding from the department that when you issue a operating license for a specific route, and that route being at the location, because part of the issues that the MEC speaks about is the issue that the roads are not drivable, that the taxi industry speaks about. So if you issue out an operating license for a person to go and operate on a road that is not drivable, definitely that person is going to create problems for the department. So it means that there's supposed to be a verification of the routes, because you can't just issue an operating license without verifying that the conditions where this person is going to drive, they are drivable, the car is going to be drivable, because they would come and complain. And part and parcel of the issues that the department has, the issue of the legal claims of the cars that are damaged by the potholes. In the case may be now the taxi industry. The other issue is the people who have operating licenses without having a tax. What is the department doing? Because you might find that some of these people, they are the ones that are causing these things of the disruptions. And do you have conflict resolution officers that they would consistently be deployed to deal with these issues at the ground level now? Because the understanding is that the industry has always, from the past, has always been reflected that it is consistent, ongoing conflict. So does the department has conflict resolution officers dedicated to be resolving these issues at the ground level? The issue of roadworthy MEC, it comes very strong, especially on scholar transports. To say that they are overloading, or a taxi can load 30 learners and move around and so forth, is not inspected. How regularly does the unit inspect and to ensure that there's compliance, particularly your scholar transport? Because it speaks to the issue of the safety of those particular learners when we have seen the incident. The issue of foreign nationals. It is the foreign nationals who are driving the taxis. With they are mostly the Lesotho nationals. Their licenses, do you verify their licenses that it is authentic license? And two, did they apply? Do they have PDP? Because for you to operate a taxi in South Africa, you have to have the professional driving. Do they driving permit? Because majority of them they do not have. And mostly in Bloemfontein is those ones that are driving what we call 4+1s. It's foreign nationals. So they don't have PDP. So it means that anything it can happen in that car, that driver is not permitted to be operating that. But this talks to the law, your multidisciplinary law enforcement approach to these things. How do you deal with that? Because you raise a very important issue of municipalities. How do they deal? Because you issue a license. When you issue a license, municipality is not even aware. That creates a conflict, because now someone can jump in and the following day operate a taxi and then go to a route that is not permitted and collect people and do that, and to create a problem with those that are permitted to operate a certain particular route. Because if you got a route 10 years ago and the location expanded, it has expanded. It means they must come back to reroute or do expansion of routes. But if they are not doing that, they continue to operate where they are not operated. So this caused both the leadership of the taxi industry and the department. But what is true is say that if there's leadership taxi, there's the department that is doing monitoring and enforcement. How did the people, the disruptions that happened in Botshabelo, how did they happen to an extent that the people were denied an opportunity to go to their different places of trade, and even some of them to move out of the town, because there's no anybody that operates outside the laws of South Africa. The leadership is there, the department is there, but yet Botshabelo was closed, and people could not move, they could not go anywhere. Those pictures are very sad when you see on social medias and everywhere that there was no, it seems like there was no one. It was an acceptable situation, an acceptable conditions that people could not, because when you want to protest, there's a formal way that is within the law, the roots of the law, to be able to launch your protest on a certain view. But you are not, or you are not permitted to disrupt the running of the normal days and the trades and so forth. That is the bed, which are the key stimulating pockets of our economy. So, just I think you can reply to these issues, but it remains a concern if the taxi leadership was there, the department was there, but yet the place was closed. I think you can then give us the responses.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, maybe I will request your permission that I start with your own question first, Chairperson. The Botshabelo situation must be compared to the Qwaqwa issue. This, what has happened in Botshabelo is similar to Qwaqwa matter. And we never folded our arms as the department, especially from the taxi side. The joint team of the Provincial Taxi Council and the departmental officials, we had to intervene on the 2-day strike of Qwaqwa. But you see, sometimes our discovery in Qwaqwa, which I will come back to Botshabelo, sorry to make that comparison, but I wanted the committee to understand the context. When people start beginning to tell you that if you drive, you are going to ban your taxi, therefore what you do, you save it. You retreat it. It's not that you're on strike, but you save it, because anything can happen. The same thing happened in Botshabelo. The strike was supposed to be called off. And what they did, they ventured to the bus industry to say, if the buses are going to move, we are going to disrupt those buses. So what the buses did, they have to withdraw as well. That's why if you have in between, there was a discussion between the bus industry, which is IBL, and those people. So it was not an issue that there was no control from the Traditional Taxi Association or the provincial regional structure or the department. The issue was, do it, you are going to damage your transport. So to save it, you withdraw. And withdrawing means people goes to work without. That's why the majority of those people people went to work, but they had to go to N8. It's not that there was a total stairway. People wanted to go to work, but people were stopped. Even Masitela now coming to him, he did call and say we must come in and send our traffic officers to go and arrest the illegal operators, because the illegal operators were the ones that were ferrying people. But the same taxi owners were beginning to accuse him to say, you have said you are going to have a strike, and now do you see that you actually permitted the illegal operators to come in? So he was under challenge. That's why the strike was called off. The strike was not called off because of the interference of Mangaung. Mangaung actually saved the face. But already there was going to be turmoil in Botshabelo against the people that were preventing the taxis to move. So I want us to understand the context on that, but purely, it's a segregation of duties here. We may be dealing with permits, but at the end of the day, you need subs to come in because there's an element of intimidation, element of deliberate disruption. And subs say to us, if we're going to intervene here in this situation, we may worsen the situation. Let's try to check civilians whether we can't just have the thing ending peacefully before we move. Because once you arrest, we may be exacerbating the situation. So I don't want us to be seen as if we did not do anything. However, that thing happens in the context that we're from a general meeting the same week, with the same Masitela being part of that meeting. So when a person wants to do something and he disregards what you have done, which is good, his intention is to disrupt. Whether you buy him a chocolate or you buy him anything or you say something good in his ears, he will not want to listen to that. If you can go and play the clips, Samasitela, you will hear the way he is rude. So he wants to do what he wants to do in the manner that he wants to do. However, Chair, I wanted first to dispense of that issue. The other thing that probably we must understand is that the department have 4 regional offices. We have office of the PRE in all regions, apart from Kharib. The dicey situation in Kharib is that the office is in Trosberg, Kharib is vast. So we have to say, Kharib, can we agree with you that you get service in Bloemfontein? Because if you go to Petersburg, before they went to Trosberg, they must pass Bloemfontein. If you are in Zastron, for them to go to Trosberg, they must be in Bloemfontein. So we said, it's clear that Bloemfontein must be the center for service. That's why we said, probably let's look into revisit the issue of the office of ourselves. So the monitoring happens every quarterly, each association, all the 74 associations. That's why when you go to the APP of the department, we see the number of visits to the associations is that visit that our officers are always there in. But indeed, sometimes we have to isolate what is minor, what is big, what needs the register to come in, what the officers comes in, so that sometimes we can send an official to go and resolve the matter. But if the matter is beyond that person, I must come in as well, so that we are able, then once it is above, the DDG or another senior official will come in. But we do make a constant and consistent monitoring of associations. Now, the associations are run by a particular document called the Standard Constitution. In that Standard Constitution, there are all rules set clearly. How must you manage your funds, how many meetings must you call, and what is that you must do in those meetings, where you bring the secretary report, the chairperson's report, the financial report, where members will either adopt or not to adopt. And that is happening quarterly of each association. So there is a standard constitution. They are not operating from a vacuum of any sort. And as when we do that, you talk along the regional structure to be in those meetings. As when we do that, we took on the leadership of the industry elected to be in those meetings. So there is a balance and check in those things. However, what we probably have to talk about is the efficiency of that, but it's happening every quarter. So we do monitor those. Now, that's a formula that when there's a problem, the constitution, the standard constitution, have what you call in their committee portfolios, they have a DC and a grievance. So, and a member submit a grievance to the committee, and the grievance committee assess it whether they think it demands to be, the person need to be charged, or can we, if so, for it to be referred to the disciplinary committee of the association. Once they have dealt with the matter, they will then refer the matter, or the affected party shall then be able to ask the region to intervene or to appeal. If that appeal fails at that level, it goes to the provincial level. But sometimes the cases, if the case is so serious, even as a department, you don't even wait for the association to move in, because remember, we cannot abdicate our responsibility as government. Once something is serious and just say the association must deal with it, it depends on the nature of the seriousness of the issue that it forces us to come in jointly with them to say this matter has to be dealt with. So there is a collaboration in context what we are trying to explain in terms of the conflict management of these issues. And indeed, that is tax industry. It depends. Remember, from the situation of violence, we are now in the situation where we said, let's negotiate. If we are able to raise certain issues amicably, but where we have to take the permit or deal with a member to expel him or to discipline him and charge him in terms of the standard constitution, so shall we do. So within the standard constitution, there is a code of conduct that tells everybody on the behavior. 2 code of conduct, and that's to say the code of conduct directed to the operator, which is a permit holder, the code of conduct that is directed to the drivers. So there's a code of conduct that deals with driver behavior and the operator's behavior. But sometimes you don't jump in your code of conduct in a negative way. We jump it either to find an amicable solution. Sometimes it depends what the case looks like to be able to do that. Now, on the issue that deals with who is Masitela. Masitela is a member of the Botshabelo Amalgamated Taxi. He's a member with a 16-seater taxi at the local level of Botshabelo. Now, we have agreed with the Botshabelo Taxi Association that we must not undermine what Masitela is saying. And number of issues that he raised, including the MEC attempts to meet with them. We're saying, Masitela, let's hear what we're saying. Bring those people along. I mean, if you say there are widows that don't receive permits, even seated here today in the committee, I'm waiting for Masitela to bring those widows. Even Tuesday when you go there, we're interested to see who are these people that is referring to so much, because we don't know who are they. We went to a number of meetings where we said, can those people come out? We want to help them. But remember, we don't help you because your husband has passed on. There's a legal documentation that you must produce. There's a form that you must fill, and there's a process that you must follow. So give us your documents if you have any problem. But in actual fact, every day, our offices are open. Hardly do we get to the street, because every day we listen to each and every individual person to come in. So there's a freedom to say, if we have a problem, leave the association, come to the register street. The register shall refer or shall have to solve your problem and inform the association. So that door is open. So that's Masitela, who actually says, if you give him a drink, he doesn't say, thank you, we have done good. He looks for another problem somewhere. And that's the person that we are dealing with here, Chair. But I can't define it further than that. Now, meter taxi. You see, if we can refer back to the Free State Public Transport Act 2005, that's the actual act that defined the formations of the associations properly. And then it will then tell you that in the associations, that's why we are able to tell you that we have taxi, minibus taxi type. Minibus taxi types, capacity of their vehicles end to 22. So 4+1, 7-seater, 16-seater, 22-seater. That's taxi type. It ends there. It's a minibus taxi type. So those associations that we are referring to, they are called a taxi type. Taxi type, minibus taxi type, taxi association type. So they know themselves. So not everybody becomes member of that association. Then when you go to scholar transport, there's a categorization as well. Anybody with 4+1, anybody with a pass, but you register under the scholar transport. So you become your service is on scholar transport. That's why if you can go back and ask us, is it a shuttle, a scholar transport? We tell you no. Shuttle is for something that is done for hotels and the airports. It's not for what they are doing at UOFs. So each and every service category has its own function within the Act for definition of its operation. Now the question can only be the reinforcement of that law in terms of enforcing those people to work in accordance to what they have been made to operate for. That's the issue that can be discussed separately. But if you go to a meter taxi has a specification of who is a meter. Meter taxi doesn't have a rank. In terms of the Municipal Structures Act, the prerogative of designating the ranks solely lies with the municipality. But the meter taxis, they can operate on the thing that we call the meter taxi base. Remember, you must call them and tell them where you are. They must collect you. So they have base, not ranks. So those that are in the Bloemfontein station, 1910, that is not a rank. It's a private government property. For them to be there, actually, they're illegal. So it's like people that are standing at Mimosa, waterfront at the gate there. They're standing on the pavement of the municipality. The municipality has to apply its power laws to remove them. The meter taxi, by its nature, they must be called. It's a call issue. It's not like a taxi type. So they cannot say they don't have a place to stand at. Now, there's one coming, which is e-hailing, similar to meter taxi. But e-hailing by its nature, if you look into that act, is the same thing like a meter taxi, but also is done operated by app, which even members of the meter taxi rainbow, they can operate with an app. So it's an issue of the technology, but the act is very clear that there's now a new baby on the which is e-hailing. So those people, they don't have, they will never have what you call the ranks. Theirs, they must be called. That's why when we discuss the department, we want to suggest to say, can we segment that? If we give you a permit, we must recommend that can't you operate at this small so that people of that area, you are accessible to them. Unlike calling a person from Fauna and you are in Bayswater. But they don't have taxi ranks. They don't have. So they don't qualify to have taxi rank. They must be. A driver is a driver. It's not an owner. It's not a permit holder. It's a driver. Either employed by me or employed by you. It's a driver. So you can't. Usually we entertain their pleas because we must listen to them. And if probably it's about low payments by their bosses, or they also say, I've been driving Fontamo for the longest time of 15 years. I now request that I must be given a permit. The association doesn't want to authorize me to have one. We engage. So there have been a number of engagement with them. That's why we're saying in our presentation, we want to regionalize the taxi, the meter taxi system, so that we consciously have a committee of meter taxi in Kwakwa, in the region of Tamumfutsanyana and Fezile Dabi, and so that we bring them to the proximity of our own people. So that was the only reason that makes us to do so. Now, Sandsborg, you see, the national government, the National Department of Transport, they are coming from the conference. It's a council. Maybe we must not call them, because those CO at the end of each is a council of all those associations under it. And remember, in a South African analysis, there were two associations which were competing the space nationally, which led to the formation of Santaco. You'll hear in the middle of the road there's what you call National Taxi Council, which want to be competitor to this one. But the government itself has agreed that Santaco must be an apex council. It's a council, it's not association, it's a council. So once we deal with it in that context, we understand that associations are the ones that are under that council, but the council oversee their existence. Now, in terms of the category of the small bus operators, it's a conscious decision that I think the government have taken, National Department of Transport, to say we shall have to promote the small bus operators. It's a historical issue as well. So anybody who has a 35-seater vehicle and more is categorized at that thing of small bus operators. Now, if we have to ask a very interesting question, which the MEC has already given us assignment to do, is that who are these black people that are running the bus companies? All those that I've just mentioned about them being contracted either by mines privately or by what is very few. So in the transformatory point, we don't have black guys who are running buses. Those that have buses, those buses were long absorbed by the stronger monopolized companies. So the small bus operators is aimed to say, can we consciously assist the small people to grow up? How is it what we are busy with, so that we advise the MEC to say, this is how we are going to do it, and how do we think, so that if one day we came and show the MEC, this is how we think, the method to uplift the small bus with a 10%, 50%, this is how you must do it, we shall do so. But small bus operators is that council of intentionally done to promote the existence of the small bus operators within the whole country of South Africa, not only in the Free State. It's only that they have regional, so they have provincial committees throughout each province. Then the issue that relates to the taxi ranks, it's a municipal function, purely, and you are right. We are concurring fully with that question. We are worried. But we are worried in two ways. The maintenance of the taxi ranks is what is a worry to the MEC. Even today, he was telling us that the taxi rank is a worrying factor. But he said we'll have to call a meeting with municipalities, which we did. But municipalities don't come to the party. The second part of the taxi rank that we are referring to, that involves the state of the taxi ranks, the manner either they are dilapidated but the other aspect of it is that townships development has now kicked in vastly. That taxi rank was built in 2012 and still a taxi rank today that we issue a permit on it. Now, commuters have deserted it. That's why you find illegal operations standing on the corners, on open spaces, because of that nature. That's why the municipalities must be forced to come to the party and really address this matter. It's a headache given to us as a permit board because we're ending up issuing permits into the taxi ranks that are already being dilapidated or even deserted. So it's a fact that is there, but it needs a intergovernmental relation issue to come in there, which is the municipality's role to deal with it. The last one is a Harib issue that I want to really take chunk on. The Harib issue, our mandate which we were given by the MEC to go to Harib, we went to Harib, called all the associations, taxi association Harib, all of them. We called them in the same venue that you are referring to, the taxi rank, the new taxi rank, that taxi rank that is in Transberg. And they told us clearly, well, no, but taxis don't get involved into the taxi rank. Then we said the method that must be used. We are going to enforce that any taxi that enters Transberg must offload in that rank. Then we must actually have local taxis taking people from that taxi rank to the interior of the town, so that there must be movement moving. But we then encourage to say, we will have to speak to the bus companies to say, when you come in, don't enter Transberg, offload here and load here. If you make schedules, if you don't have to stop somewhere, offload there. So we are together with the Regional Taxi Association in that section, is what we are discussing. It may be a little bit late, but this is what the discussion is beginning to ensue now, to say, let's force operation and usage of the taxi rank in Harib district. And that's where we are with the matter for now. Thank you, Chair. Oh.
Honorable
Okay,
members.
thank you. Sorry, Chair. Sorry. My apology, Chair. There's something I was reminded to answer. Is how much does it cost? I did not really find the question properly, but I think, can I make assumption? Then that assumption must be corrected immediately. Are you saying, how much do you pay to get our application into the permit board? Is what the question is. Okay. It's a national standard fee, but I must break it out for you quickly. If you apply for a new permit, or you come and renew your existing permit, whatever form you renew it, or you come to replace a car on it, squarely 600 rand. It's a national standard issue. Now, you'll see that there's where you pay 100 rand. Is that issue that I was saying, if for whatever reasons we were unable to give your permit on time, and we can prove that we failed to give it on time, then you pay 100 rand for the temporary permit, which in terms of the Free State, I'm saying again, in terms of the Free State, it lasts for 6 months. For 6 months for us is because we don't want to come again for 3 months and just get another one, so that when you come, we must be finished with your product. So it's 100 rand temporary permit, and then 600 rand for the 7-year application permit. So those are our fees. Come again? 7 years. A permit, a lifespan of a permit, which is what you call operating license, is 7 years. And remember, the 7 years issue, the 6 months is temporary. The other category that you are going to get to the permit is your contracted one. Remember, I said the contract one, in terms of the Act, it says we shall issue a permit in line with the date given for that contract. If it's a six months contract, we shall give you a 6 months. If it's 5 years, we shall give you 5 years. So it's linked to the contract agreement. But the normal permit is 7 years.
Okay. We're going to give you MEC and then we're going to take honorable members. MEC?
Thank you. I think we need to say to the committee that there is definitely something that is being done about the state of RAs. And this is the point I indicated in the past, that there is money from road construction that we have already reinvested in refurbishing some of the RAs. That's the first point. We will give a detailed response, or a written response, with regard to the specifics of who exactly are those. The second point, we have set aside 10 million, correct, DDG?
That's correct.
We have set aside 10 million. We are finalizing a discussion with IDT to assist us with the refurbishment of those that we are going to identify. We are not going to be able to do all of them at once. It will be on an incremental basis because we don't have sufficient money. So there's definitely something that is being done about those. I would be very much careful not to advise the leadership of the taxi industry to get involved in a manner that they should be in the center of stopping communities when they want to protest, especially if that is done within the confines of the law. We have intervened in some instances because this thing did turn out to be something else. Here in Bloemfontein, as part of it, there are people who died here because in the fracas of everything, gangs here in Mangaung encroached in what is defined as the territory of others. And they ended up fighting, and some people died. Police had to come in. 142 people, as a result, had to be arrested as a result of this so-called shutdown. So I would really be careful. Look, Masitel has been thoroughly characterized. He's a dubious character. He worked for government. He was expelled for fraud. He just can't operate within defined collectives at all. He can't. I took out time to call him and his group to come and listen to their issues. They did not go there because Masitel and the group were raising problems. I instructed them to do that. And I said, let us not donate innocent taxi operators to this dubious character. As a result, please do go there, call everybody under one roof, listen to their problems. Those that we can address, let's address them on the spot. So that's why I was deliberate at the beginning to say, let me locate the relationship of government with the taxi industry, because I knew these questions were going to come up. So there's a defined way through which we work with the industry. We don't necessarily wait for problems to erupt. That's why in the slides, the very first slide, if not the second, there is a process that was outlined there, including us proactively calling these people through what was called Ziveze, so that we can compare the permits that are there in a way that it was explained how many permits are there, how many are active, and so on, so that we can compare a permit to a car. So taxis were called, school operators were called, because it's a national program, even that one, especially following the incident that happened in the Val, where a lot of students died. So we're all instructed as provinces that let us look into school transport. And here in the Free State, we did work with the department to make sure that these people are called to check on the roadworthiness of these cars, including the permits. So something is done, not in a reactive manner, because it's defined in law what exactly is the role that the department is supposed to play. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, MEC. Taten Tamo, you have not dealt with the backlog as to how many, and then the foreign nationals who are driving 4+1s without PDPs. You confiscating or not? Permits, owning a permit without a tax, what do you do in that situation? Then let me give honorable members with follow-ups, then you'll also cover those issues. Honorable Chief Whip and then Chair.
Chairperson, I understand and fully understand what is being said. But the response clearly says to me, as South Africans, we are powerless. We are powerless in the sense that you can organize anarchy. It could have been a test case. You know, there's this understanding that what happened in July a few years ago was just a test for what might be planned in future to disrupt the country. It's not this thing that you say somebody was in prison and the people are revolting. No. And there was even incident cited of movement of cars moving from one area to another to organize that disruption. And those people have not been traced and arrested. In the same vein with this one, the same thing was an issue. That's why from the day before yesterday and even yesterday, we had this question of saying, what is it that is being done about this the disruption? Clearly orchestrated by people who did not hide themselves. And the person, after disrupting Bloemfontein, and saying, now we are going to Botshabelo, and the thing starts in Botshabelo. And when it involves Botshabelo, it then involves also the taxi industry and the person being mentioned now. And from what you can hear, that's why I wanted a response directly from taxi industry, that whether they're in control or not. Which is to say that if this person, because from what I deduce from what is being said, at no point is being said that this person is operating illegally. It means this person belongs to the taxi industry. But this person can organize a protest outside an organization that he belongs to. It then clearly says that for you to organize and disrupt the economy of Mangaung, you don't have to struggle. You can easily organize individuals. You go to this one in Botshabelo, you just identify one or two in Bloemfontein, and you organize another one in Tabanchu. Then the whole economy of Mangaung comes to a standstill. So clearly, for us to have effective discussions, it means we must not discuss with the formal organization. We must go to those individuals. That's when we then can contain the disruptions. Now, it's not a question of people avoiding conflict. We know the history of the taxi industry. We grew up understanding the emergence of this industry. this is the industry that was born out of struggle. It was not born out of people sitting in boardrooms, but it emerged from the battlegrounds on the ground where people fought to say we want to get into this industry. And they fought against the system to a point where they are today, an industry that is recognized. It did not just emerge because there was people who sat in the boardrooms and decided that we need to have this type of an industry, and this is how we are going to organize it, and this and that. But it emerged out of the struggles of people who wanted to get involved in the industry and in business. And that's why sometimes we bleed to say owners in this industry are not growing beyond the point where they are. To have a situation where they have serious stake in the big bus industries. And so that when government sits to decide about these subsidies, that those people also benefit and play a major role in that. Now, for as long as anarchists like this one are still allowed to control or have influence, it may be that this is part of a situation where individuals like this are organized to ensure that black people don't grow in the industry and in the economy. And part of it is to ensure that you create anarchy and chaos in the industry owned by black people. The same way as it happens in Cape Town every time. For more than 30 years, it's a fight between Codeta and Kata. It never comes to an end. It even goes to the Eastern Cape. Never arrested. Now, if you allow a situation where we can sit like this, and at the center of that is one name, this creates a serious problem from the manner in which I see things. That's why I really wanted to get an opinion of the people who are involved in the industry themselves, especially in the leadership, so that they should say that no, we are not in control. Where anarchy erupts, we really have to rely on government. Then, therefore, we then say whenever such a situation emerges again, you then must go to the anarchists and discuss with anarchists. That's how you can then arrest the situation. And that's where the matter has come to. But also here's an anomaly, Chairperson. The MEC works with the police. Part of the issues that we always raise is the role of crime intelligence. These things happened. It's some days later. It's as if that thing has not happened. Anarchy can also be organized by the same individual again, which also involved other individuals that we complained about yesterday and the day also when we were seated with the police. From the presentation that we got yesterday, yesterday also, was to say, I think this industry of taxis is the heartbeat of the transport industry in the province. The higher percentage of the transport industry is run by this industry. Now, if you are able or you want to disrupt the economy of the province, you must just focus on this, disrupt this industry. Then the economy of the province come to a standstill. Now, I'm raising these issues deliberately for us to understand that, for us to have this type of an interaction, is to say, how do we ensure that there are minimal disruptions in this industry so that there are minimal disruptions in the economy of the province? This therefore has to say that the causal effect of the disruptions in our economy in the province must be arrested at some point so that we then say we can be able to make better predictions of the growth of economy. And that has to be, let's deal with the sources of disruptions. If we don't do that, I'm telling you, that's the reading of the situation from what I hear. This was a test for what might be planned for the future. This might be the test for what might be planned for the future. That today, I mean, one day as we wake up, somebody will just hear the voice notes like we hear that tomorrow there will be a shutdown. Maybe the same way as it is being planned for the 30th of June. Maybe towards the 30th of June, we'll see multiples of such voice notes. This shutdown in Mangaung, shutdown in Machabeng, shutdown in Malutiapofu, shutdown in Metsimaholo, and shutdown in Dihlabeng. You know, once there are shutdowns in those areas, you have arrested almost 80% of the economy of the province would have come to a standstill. And once the economy comes to a standstill, the issue of a coup can happen anytime. So I'm trying to raise these issues to say, we raise this issue and become concerned about the operations of this industry, basically because this is what carries the economy of the province in terms of ensuring that people are able to go to work. And if people are not able to go to work, the economy comes to a standstill. Now, I must lastly say that the issue I raised has not been addressed. Maybe we can address it outside in informal discussions. What is the role of Masitela in the taxi industry? Because what has been said is that clearly it is a taxi operator, but it's a taxi operator whom the leadership of the taxi industry are helpless to reign over. Thanks, Chair.
Chair?
Thank you, Chair. Maybe just some clarity, and I must maybe echo and support the sentiment of Honourable Gwabane. But my question is still on the registration of the permits. I do not understand it. Do you issue a permit for a vehicle, or do you issue a permit for a person that's got 10 vehicles? The 600 rand that you pay to get a permit, because there's 19,134 registered members, so that they'll pay 600 rand for that. But each member there can have 100 vehicles. I do not understand that scenario, and if we don't get it per vehicle, why not? Because it's a revenue stream that we need to get in. But perhaps I'm wrong. Thank you, Chair.
It's a very important question. As you should say that if a person is an operating license holder but does not have a vehicle, what do you do with that license? I think it's the same question that the chair is asking, say that, do you register a person or the vehicle? The operating license, but it belongs to government, but when you issue it out, does it belong to a person and the person can have an operating license without the vehicle. And the other issue is, and if that is the case, why would a person have an operating license if he does not have a vehicle to operate? So the other issue is the issue of the tax, the meter taxes. That the question of the meter taxes is to say that when you register a meter tax, do they have an association or not? And if they are illegal, because they are not supposed, they are supposed to have, municipalities are supposed to have base for them, and they do not have base. What then becomes the consequence? Because the sentiment is that they are illegal, but the understanding from where we are sitting is that the Department of Community Safety and Roads and Transport does not operate in isolation of municipalities. So if they are illegal, you go out, you are driving, you saw that the meter taxis, they are standing in the train station in Bloemfontein, and you know that they are illegal. What do? That is the question. Do you just pass, or you leave them there? You say, it's not my responsibility, it's the responsibility of municipality. Because municipality, they must dedicate. It cannot operate like that. You are provincial government operates with local government. It's the same thing. It's one government with three categories, but doing one thing, enforcing the law, delivering services to the people. So the question here is not who's responsible for what, is what do you do in that situation as a provincial government? You can respond to these issues.
Thank you very much. Chair, I think let's deal with the issue that relates to what is illegal operator. An illegal operator is anybody who gets people into his car with an intention for that person to exchange money with him without having an operating license. That person remains a legal person to operate. Because the reason why we give you an operating license is solely to authorize you to exchange money with that person. So anybody who operates without an operating license remains an illegal operator. Now, the Lesotho citizens, or let's say the foreign citizens generally, we have made it very clear, Chair, from our side to say if you don't have a PDP that is been approved by us and the Lesotho, because Lesotho has the same problem with their own PDPs that they have issued. But I want to take the committee through to say, what is this problem with the Lesotho PDP? It's a piece of A4 paper in the letterhead of Lesotho with a photo that has been clipped with a stapler on it, signed per district of Lesotho, per district. That means if you got that, if you are staying in Botabote, the Botabote will sign. If you stay in Tabapaza, Tabapaza will sign. So we have different signatories in that, the so-called PDP. And it's nowhere where we can verify either from our side or Lesotho that this person has received this document legit or what. So what we did, Chair, we took them, we have piles of them. But when we took them, we say, give us for you to get it back or to begin to discuss, give us your passport. But only not give us your criminal record from Lesotho and criminal record from South Africa. But give us a contract that employed you between the operator and yourself as a driver. Give us a municipal account that is legit. But give us your LEP if it's a Lesotho citizen, the employment permit. And all those documents, if they're not submitted, you're not allowed to drive our car at all, let alone whether driving is a scarce skill or not. But those are basic issues. That is saying, apart from just saying it's a scarce skill, those issues has to be submitted. And it has proven to us that they are unable to revert back and bring those documents completely. They can't. Then we have touched base on the collaboration with the immigration team as well, to say, but there's an illegality happening here. So they came in. The only problem, Chair, that we will tell is It's an issue that relates to SAPS and the National Prosecuting Authority to open cases. We open cases, they will vanish. You get the case number, they will never be flying anywhere, despite that information being there. I know it's not a good thing when we say it's not our terrain, but if we have played our role in the other part, in the leg of the the other leg of state doesn't either advise or at least take an action, because we have taken action already, so we can't do nothing. Chair. And this is how far we are in terms of the illegal driving of our vehicles by operators who don't. By the way, it's a requirement that anybody who drive a public transport must have a public permit to drive that car. So yes, the disc are issued for a public transport. So you'll see always the taxis have 2 discs. They have their own normal roadworthy disc, and they also have the disc that allows you to have the public, which issued from the RAs. So they have. And it's a question that I think we did not answer when you say, what does the Act say? Yes, they are expected to regularly visit the testing station to retest, basically. But remember, for me to issue my permit, I always demand, which is a requirement, that you can apply, let's maybe take you through the process of application. Let's assume that you apply for a new permit. You shall apply. The Act is very clear. Let you apply, because we cannot say go and buy a vehicle first and then come and apply, because we'll have created a burden that a precedent that has nothing to do with it. Because application is a request. That request can be approved, not approved. So the Act have allowed to say you can apply, pay. The adjudication process may actually agree with you to say we are grant or don't grant. And that's exactly where the critical role comes in between us and the associations. Because at the process of doing that, we need also to be sure that the community in there do advise. However, we are also running our own system to say bring in your criminal record certificate, so that we are able to check there's no criminality, because the Act demands that as well. So once we have applied, let's assume that that is granted, we give you 3 months, which is 90 days, to submit all the relevant vehicle documents. 3 months. Failure to do that, the system then will be able to say you have a right to come to the registrar and ask for extension and state the reason. Then the registrar either grant or not grant, but you can't be perpetual to grant that extension. Can't be perpetual forever. So we do have those systems that is very clearly explained in terms of the regulations to say what should happen. So for us to uplift, in this context, upliftment is what you call printing out. For us to uplift a permit, we request you to then bring the car papers with all different documents. Give us your roadworthy certificate, give us a certificate of that vehicle, give us the clearance certificate from the police, give us your SARS, give us your ID. So all those documents are the documents that before we can uplift that permit, we must ensure that that car belongs to you, okay, through the clearance certificate as well. So once we have submitted and we are satisfied, then we print. So in that permit, there shall be that number plate and the VIN number of all the parts of the vehicle into the permit that we are issued with. Now, that means we cannot fund that permit into another car. The car is attached to a permit. A permit is attached to a car. So you can't drive without somebody's permit randomly. So that's how it works, Chair. So there's no way that we can issue you a permit without a vehicle. Now, and if we have to go through, you'll hear, we'll tell you that Ndamo has a permit and tomorrow he wants to change the permit to change the car. Now, we since said, if you change the vehicle, there's no problem. But just give us a proof of purchase of that car. Okay, because I give us a 7-year permit. Anything can happen, either the car broke or the car gets stolen, whatever reasons may be. So you replace that car in the same permit. But we need to bring us a proof of purchase, that prove to us that this car has been bought, because avoiding that people are beginning to borrow each other's cars for each other's permit. That's the only, it's a measure that has been implemented. But we know for the fact that a car must show a title holder and an owner. But in exception, if a car has been bought through the bank remains, if it's not been paid up, it shall remain the title holder of that permit. You shall remain an owner. But should you, if that car is not paid by is out of the bank financing, the title holder and the owner must actually be the same person. So that's how we begin to try to manage the issue of ownership of the vehicles to the rightful owners in that instances. But you don't rule it out that a person can go and borrow somebody's permit, but then say, no, I take a risk. Everything must be changed to your name because that permit must be on that car. That is yours as a title holder. So that's the risk that that person takes. And we can't go beyond that one now, unless otherwise. But then, when a person is been found to have hired out a permit, the section 77 of the National Land Transport Act is very clear. You cannot hire out the permit. You cannot sell out the permit. So that act is clear on those aspects to say what should happen. So if we find out and we can prove that we have hired out a permit or we can prove that we have sell a permit to each other, then we shall then adjudicate in terms of section 78 and 79. It's a process that we set in motion to begin to listen to that case because we must give a fair hearing to that person. So there's a process that governs what the chair is asking us. Chair, the other issue that we did not answer the police clearance. I mean, it's since been, I think it's part of what was raised even in Botshabelo to say the police clearance, they are unable to get the police clearance. But the police clearance in Botshabelo issue has been arrested now, it's done. It's done. But it's been consistently been taken up. And where we are able to pick it up, we advise the MEC for necessary intervention. We know we had the same problem in Paris, it was attended to, we solved it. So it's every time it rises up, because remember the police, in terms of their own operation, in terms of their own deployment, we may not know this person who was dealing with the police clearance issuance maybe has come for retirement and what. So every time when it rises, and when the association, the council advise us, we advise the MEC accordingly so that they can be able to intervene. So from where we are seated, every time that issue comes in, we are able to deal with it. And then if really, but we are insisting that no car shall be given a permit without that police clearance being issued. And then the backlog that we have currently, Chairperson, is a backlog that is standing on 2,500 outstanding permits. Into it is a conglomeration of such permits for the whole industry now. We know for the fact that we have permits that has to be adjudicated as far as the issue that relates to either new permits or transfers or capacity of, because once a car capacity exceeds 10%, it goes to gazetting. So if it goes to gazetting, it means then we must wait for that gazette process to finish before the education takes place. But there are immediate transaction within that period of 7 years. If it's a permit that gets renewed earlier than the expiry date, in this instance in the Free State, we say 3 months, bring it 3 months before expiry date. We shall then be able, we are able, it's not a process of gazetting. We immediately do it and renew it if all the documents are fine. But if it's a capacity of the same vehicle, the same, you don't have to go for gazetting, you shall do that immediately. So there are certain instances where you don't require gazetting, but there are certain instances where gazetting is indeed needed. Now, the issue that relates to conflict. Recently, just now, our system is linked to PESAL. That means we are now able, from 2026, we are now able, before we can even run your application to say pay, we are able to run your application to say, but you belong to South African National Defence Force. You belong to SAPS, you belong as a member of either civil servant. So we are able to run that system. And we shall require those departments to respond accordingly to say they are member, they've been allowed to run the taxis. But we're very clear, those permits cannot be awarded because the primary objective of us issuing permits to the extent is to say, how do we alleviate a taxi industry as part of the poverty alleviation and job creation generally, without really saying Tamo must own a permit once he's seated there, the taxi is running outside there. So that has been implemented now. So our system is compatible to that system. So we can tell you who is a civil servant, who is working where. Even here at the legislature, there are people that are owning taxis working at the legislature. We have issued such directive already to the legislature person to say, these individuals tell us have they declared, and there's a time frame there. Failure to give that, we are going to take those permit off. If they go to court, let it be, but we are very clear now that anybody who is a traffic officer, who is a SAPS member, cannot own a permit. So our system is compatible. Only the thing that we are still struggling, we are trying to open up the doors and link our system to Home Affairs. Because you see, the Demasilo will tell you that we came across on the issues where we found an association have signed off a permit of a deceased. You see, this forging of, so you find out we produce it and give it off. They will run with that thing because it's not written anyway. So our system cannot pick up if this person is alive or not. So we are working towards collaboration with Home Affairs to check whether this person has passed on or not. Once we can achieve that, it will be another plus to be able to make our system compatible. We have already agreed with the department now that they must give the permit section a leverage to have what you call INATI system, so that we intensify the issue of the checkpoint of the vehicle's ownership. Once we have an INATIS, because we have to ask the other section in the department, but we said, can you train one of our people so that we check it on the spot? Then in that issue of title holdership and the ownership can immediately be done and be quicker than the way we're doing it now. But those are the issues, Chair. So illegal person is an illegal person. There's nothing that we can do. We said we are illegal, we don't have a permit. It's like when your permit has expired. If the permit expired, you must come for renewal. That's why we said, don't allow it to expire before. But the other challenge that you must say it, which is being faced now, is the financial institutions. But let's tell you how is the problem with the financial institutions. When a person, if I have a vehicle and I am married and it happens that I have taken a loan for this vehicle, the credit check is with me, it's not with my wife. So if I passed on, the financial institution will not allow my wife to take over that burden, despite that the tax is still there. So I think that's where we need intervention with the bank institution to say, but they must allow that to happen, because basically that money was paid by the same taxi. So that's why a number of taxis get to be repossessed. And that's where the widows are struggling. I would say widows because the majority of the dominant in the industries are males. So pardon me to say widows only, but I've never heard of a male section person having the same problem. But this is happening commonly with the females. But that's why we need intervention to say, let's really talk to the financial institution to understand that rule that, it's an inheritance issue, if it's possible. If it's the car is on that person's name, then if it doesn't pay, they can have a right to possess it. But possessing it on the name that the husband has passed on is a problem. And that's what the taxi industry is massively now being faced with generally. Chairperson, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ntamo. The Chairperson, are you in control of the taxi industry? Because the understanding is that Masitela, he is a member of the association, and by default is a member of that association. It is the part of the South African Taxi Council. Are you in control to an extent that one of the members run around and creates this unrest that disrupts the backbone of the economy, which is the transport, to an extent that people, they move out of where they are supposed to pick up or to ride their taxis to an N8 road, which is illegal for them to stand there for transport in South Africa. The law says that on a national road, you can't stand there and then hitchhike. It's illegal for you to do that. So these people, on that day, they moved out of Sigwebela, they were standing at N8, which is illegal. So they could have been arrested. So the question is that, are you in control of the taxi industry or not?
Thank you, Chairperson. I am in control. We've got, as per standard constitution, an earlier question was posed to say, what is it that we do? The process that we follow, we've got the grievance procedure that is being followed. There is a disciplinary procedure that is being followed with the timelines to it, whereby the association at ground level, it will exhaust its measures of disciplinaring, of taking the grievance of a member. When it fails there, it will be taken to the higher structure, that is the regional councils. And then the region will also engage in that Mr. Masitela. And then when there is no solution at all, there comes a time whereby the associations as well as the regions will recommend to say, we've got a member here who's not adhering to the processes that we have, the code of conduct that we have. As a result, this is what we recommend. We recommend that this bad element to be removed. I'm not saying we've got such powers to say, we ourselves to say, we take this particular person's operating license. What we as the taxi industry normally do, after exercising our powers to say we have called this person in and then we have engaged with this person, then it's not adhering to the code of conduct. It is for us to also to engage with the register with evidence to say, here, this guy, absolutely, we don't see him fit to be part of us in the taxi industry. So that's what we recommend. We recommend because that particular person in the first place, when he made an application to have an operating license, it was gazetted, it was taken through the through the office of the register and gazetted there and then was given. And then he came to us to join. When a particular person comes to us to be a member of an association, the first thing that we normally do, we just check whether he was not involved maybe in violence, he don't have any criminal records. After verifying that, and then we lay out the roles in the taxi industry, how we operate. You cannot move from one route to the other route without engaging the executive of an association. So if this particular person transgresses all what we have just given to him, all what we do, the association, the region, and the province normally make a recommendation to the office of the registrar to say, we've got a bad element that we don't deserve to have in the taxi industry. Thank you.
Yeah, what you are not saying, Chairperson, is are you able to terminate a membership or not? Oh, you are able to terminate, but you can't take the permit. The permit, you can only request the registrar to be able to take the permit. Okay. Honorable members, I'm not sure if we have exhausted. If you are exhausted, let me give, I'm going to give the MEC and then give also Chair Honorable Van Vuuren for the reflections and remarks, and then I will then close the meeting. MEC?
No, I don't have much to say, Chair. I was just about to ask Honorable Khwabane, after his long input, what does he propose? Must we clamp down on things like this in the future so that I have a reference? If that's allowed, I will gladly command the police to act as such. No, we are really covered, Chair. And thank you very much for the inputs. I think there are things that we need to ponder on in relation to the entirety of the presentation, just to strengthen the areas of concern that members have raised, including the role of police, especially on intelligence gathering. I think evidence-based decision-making is the correct way to go. Thank you.
Chair?
Thank you, Chair. Now, I think we can keep on keeping on the whole day if we keep on asking questions and we get answers. there's two things that stands out for me. First of all, the MEC said this Masitela person has been accused of fraud and been found guilty. The taxi association just admitted that they said, no, we confirm that this person don't have a criminal record. But that confirmation, obviously, maybe that was done before he became a member. So I think that's a bit of a loophole there. The other problem I still got is that we lose revenue if we don't register each vehicle. Because as I understand the testimony now is that the person gets it, irrespective. He must just register his vehicle under his permit. So a permit can have 100 vehicles, but we don't see that 600 rand. Did I still get it wrong? Okay, please then. One car, one permit. Okay, that's different. That's not how I understood it. Perfect, thank you. That's fine. So now, Chair, we've got challenges. I think there's a lot of things that needs to be sorted out with a specific individual, but I leave it over to the department and whoever, the police, to do their thing. But I think we covered, we've exhausted it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, MEC. I think we have, this engagement is very fruitful because of the multi-billion industry and Free State, our economy, as the Chief Whip has reflected, it depends on this transport, and particularly for our people to move, to do trade, formal trade or informal trade. So we have to protect and we have to arrest elements of disruptions before they become very big and they disrupt the normal livings of the different people. But as well, what we want the department to employ is that look into the issues of trying to move slowly to professionalize the sector. For instance, an operator and a driver, there must be a contract, written contracts, and those who are employed, a person can be employed for 7 years as a driver but not registered with the UIF. When that person gets terminated, there's no UIF. So it's the things that you need to look into, and when you are reviewing how you work and how you work with the associations, because it's very important that some of these people, when they are working, they do receive the benefits of the state, like being registered with UIF. So it's some of the things that you have to look into, including the taxi leadership. And the other issue on the expired, they are expired, I'm not sure it's expired operating license or what on different categories on the different slides. You should impose fines. I'm not sure if their fines are already there being imposed or not, but you should impose a fine, like the same way that when I'm not renewing the license disc of the car, every day it accumulates penalties. So even here you should do the same. If they have on bus service, there are 93 expired. So it's just normal for them that they will come whenever they come. It must not operate like, it must follow the same regulation that it follows with the license disc of a car. It expired every day you accumulate the penalties. We're going to be meeting with the NPA. We have met with SAPS, we're going to meet with the NPA. We'll raise these issues of the cases that are registered with them, and there's no execution or prosecution and so forth, so that we get to understand what is the real issue that emanates from there. But our understanding as well is that when you exist as a provincial government and where you notice an element of illegality, do not say it's the municipality that is responsible or it's national government that is responsible, but pick it up and then alert your counterpart, which is your other spheres of government, so that they arrest the situation, so that there's law, there's order in everywhere, especially in the taxi industry. The issue of the taxi infrastructure, I think Chairperson of the infrastructure will have to follow it up, this one, because it's a very critical issue. Say that if municipalities are not playing their role, what then becomes the issue? Should you have anyone standing at the R30 because of hitchhikers, which is illegal, and there's no infrastructure? Because our understanding is that the expansion of the town must be accompanied with proper town planning. that there would be different catchments. If there's a need of expansion of an infrastructure of a tax rank, it must properly be done by the town planning issue. But we did also hear yesterday, honorable members, that the spatial planning forum or what, there is a problem with municipalities on those issues, MEC. When they are supposed to sit, they are not getting sitting allowance, investments are not coming through. So because of that forum, they are not being given what is due for them as they have been appointed to. Perhaps it might be some of the issues that the tax industry battles with, but we're going to resolve that issue. But what we will say, tighten up your systems. There are issues that we are picking up, but you are doing well with what you are doing, and introduce that driver information system, because it's very important for us to know how many drivers we have in the Free State. You can only know the operating license, but you would not know how many drivers you have, because one car can be operated by 3 drivers. So it's things that we need to know as and when we are working on our stats, and as when we are working on who contributes into building this economy in the Free State. So, but some of the issues would refer them to the infrastructure so that the chair follows them up through. But what we will produce as the resolution, MEC, we will share with you and the department, and other issues that we think that the department must focus on. With those words, honorable members, MEC, the leadership of the tax industry, I want to declare this meeting officially closed. Thank you.